guests today are Paul O'Grady. Paul is Executive Vice President for Strategic Development at Microfocus, and Paul works with Cobol. And next to Paul, Dave Eisenberg, a Senior Engineer and Software Developer with Apple Computers, and Dave works with Pascal. Gary.
You know, Stuart, there have been a lot of languages around for several years that are sort of considered traditional languages, like PL1, Fortran. Cobol is a good example of that. And one of the difficulties in the small computer industry is trying to bring those down into really usable languages. Nowadays, people expect a lot more interaction in the way they deal with computer systems. And I know that Microfocus has been working on Cobol, trying to make that more of a personal orientation. So what have you done?
Well, we see ourselves, Gary, as in the business of exploding myths about Cobol. The mainframe people have myths about it, that it can't run on this kind of equipment. And the microcomputer people have myths about it in the sense that they just don't like the language at all, a lot of people. What we try to do is we try to differentiate between the environment and the language itself. And the environment in the past for Cobol has been the mainframe environment. We believe that that is what has led to much dissatisfaction in that environment. What we've done here, though, with Personal Cobol, which is one of our latest products, is show what we believe is the kind of thing that can be done and which is very appealing on this kind of equipment. I've already put us into Personal Cobol. Personal Cobol is a combination of an editor, a forms generator, a checker, syntax checker, and the ability to run programs. In this case, I'm going to go straight into the forms part, and I've already created a form for us.
Now, this is a form that you created by drawing the lines in and so forth.
Yes.
To begin with.
Everything that you see on this screen here was created by directly keying in the lines, the text, the X's, the square brackets, the whole thing. And I did it in approximately 5 minutes or so before the program started. What I'm going to do now is to start to generate the Cobol for this, because another of the businesses that Microfocus sees itself as being in is trying to redefine the term programming. And programming for us is simply generating code in whatever way possible, the most effective way possible. In this case, we're going to generate all of the code for this screen automatically. That I'll do now. We also wrote this program so that people who have finger trouble like me never really crash the program. I hope to prove that. I'm going to create a complete program, an index program. I position the cursor as it tells me to, and we're now generating Cobol in the lower part of the screen.
Now, this traditionally, again, if you talk about traditional Cobol programming, you'd start with a program that would you'd work out all the details of it that would produce this screen. Is that correct? Now, in this case, what you've done is you've manually made the screen up by moving the cursor around, and it's doing the inverse. It's actually producing the program instead.
That is correct, yes, and we've already produced it. We've produced the Cobol for that. What I can now do is I can decide whether or not I want to save that. In this case, I'll exit without saving. I've already created the text elsewhere. As I said, some people have finger trouble, and I always have finger trouble at points like this.
Paul, you mentioned that some programmers have not liked Cobol in the past. Why is that? What is it about it that created a problem?
There is a lot of detail to the syntax. The period at the end of each Cobol statement often causes problems, but there is also the need to define records at the beginning of a program prior to getting into the guts of it, making the program do the work. However, that comes from the type of application that Cobol was designed to bear upon. Those are typically data handling applications, file manipulating applications, and for that kind of application it is necessary to create the records to start with.
And that's what you worked with here, though, is again a program generation concept Now, if you talk about forms, you put up forms ahead of time and then you generate a COBOL program. Can you also do that for data structures for accessing files, or is this something that would come up in the future?
In terms of the data structures, they're already built into the index sequential file mechanism of the COBOL, and we adhere to the COBOL standard. But yes, in the future one can conceive of the ability to input the data structure directly into the program prior to generating it.
Dave, you work primarily with Pascal, and tell us about Pascal and why you like it. What are its special features?
One of the nicer things about Pascal is its power of expression in terms of, for a small amount of text on the screen, which is, given the right programmer, awfully readable, you can get a lot of power out of it. It allows you to express an algorithm, a method for doing a computation or some process, the way you think about it instead of having to force it into some other mold. And that's one of the advantages of COBOL for business applications. It's built for that, such that you can think in terms of a business or record problem and do it that way. Pascal is similar, but pretty much for more general purpose applications.
Pascal had several years ago a lot of interest in terms of using it as a systems language, and it was sort of touted as the all-purpose language for doing everything. What happened? Why did that not really take place?
Pascal was first designed as a language for teaching about computing and computer science, and even its inventor admitted, Nicholas Wirth, admitted that that was what it was for. And he's been at work lately on something called Modula, which is designed to take over from Pascal in terms of the systems area, which lets you get closer to the machine level, but still, again, have the power of expression that Pascal has.
Paul, in coming up with something like Personal Cobol, Cobol we think of as you say, a mainframe, big corporation environment type language, what kind of use, what kind of application do you see with something like Personal Cobol?
Well, we see not just the classic business data processing applications, we see personal applications such as diary application, personal filing applications, and we also see office automation applications, all being applicable to COBOL. They all require data handling and file maintenance, which COBOL was originally designed for.
I think it's also important to think of COBOL as being a system implementer's language. That is, it's not the kind of a language that you really promote as, say, an end-user language. Is that correct?
I would agree with that, certainly.
More to the kind of an individual who is going to go out and write some extensive programs and then go off and sell those programs. And so there's a whole layer of programming languages that fit in that category that maybe an end-user might not even want to consider, at least until they've had some experience with programming languages.
Yes, I agree. I think none of the standard, the normally accepted programming languages are applicable for end users at this point, personally. Not even BASIC.